All right, everybody, it is time for the South Florida Blitz here as we come to you live here into this rare regular season week 12. Josh Wilson here. That's Reno on the other side there. Reno's already jamming out. He's in the groove. Comments already lighting up here, firing up as well here. Yes, indeed. We got the fans on. The fans are just lighting up on there on the YouTube chat. By the way, we are in the YouTube partner program, and we appreciate everybody that supports our shows. And if you want to show your support, you can do that right there in the chat box on the YouTube platform. You can show your support. It looks like a little $ icon right next to where you would type in the chat right there. You can show your thanks by hitting a super sticker or super chat, or if you're watching the show after we are live, there is the super thanks available right below the banner, right below the video player on YouTube. So, yes, indeed. And Mark Cannon, I don't know if I could post what I need on that one because he's feeling it after 2 Blitz shows already, Reno. But Jenny's like, Mark, I'm sure Reno has a coconut for you to pour a good. Oh geez. But Jay Golfin, let's talk about this Glade Central fan right here. And I have a question about Miami Central, how they shave up the playoff bracket. We will definitely talk about that because this came out late. Did not get onto the rundown here, but we actually will talk about it here in a moment here because that'll actually kind of lead off things here because several reports came out flying out. We kind of heard that there was in the grapevine, and actually we're hearing more in the grapevine that there may be a couple other teams lurking around out there that may see some things from the FSA here. But wasn't James like, let's get her Kronk here for the Blitz? And yes, indeed. Coconut. Christopher, like, coconuts, give me the pineapple.
No, you put the lime in the coconut.
The lime in the Chris, we have plenty of pineapples here for you. Oh, yes, Jenny is. Oh, man, yeah, y'all are just firing it up. But Deuce Allen is asking, I see Jensen Beach lost. Do you think they'll drop to the number 7? I mean, that's a possibility where they're at in their class 4A Region 4. So we'll have to see what the final bracket brings. But there's some interesting things, situations, scenarios setting up there as we roll along here. So, yeah, it is the South Florida Blitz already firing off, already having a good time here already here. And with that said, it is time for the Blitz lines. And starting off with Royal Palm Beach. Royal Palm Beach rolled, came off of edges, Dr. Garcia, but looking at Max Greiner threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you got to give it up to Chuck Kenyon's crew. They're looking at a playoff spot, but they do have a big game this week. They're sitting there at the number 8. They were sitting there last week at the number 8 seed in Class 7A Region 3. I'm sure the rankings, if they were calculated tomorrow, would probably have Royal Palm Beach maybe either at 6 or 7. And yes, indeed, we are going to talk about this situation here, though, in a moment here. We'll get to Miami Central here in a moment here, but first start off with some good news. Then we'll go to the bad news here because let's talk about the bad news now. Miami Central here, sitting here. How about this? Reports from a couple of sources, including USA Today Network. Miami Central has forfeited all 8 of their wins because of an ineligible player, now putting the Rockets 0-9 on the season. They only had 1 loss coming, wrapping up the season, 8-1 on the year, Reno. And now Miami Central is now, how about this, 0-9, now not eligible for the playoffs. Self-reported, only a fee. Oh, now the fine for them compared to what First Academy is like a drop in the bucket, $900 for self-reporting. Yeah, so I mean, this is where the FSA, hey, you can self-report and make this way less, or hey, you're going to fight this, and well, you fight this, the hammer might be coming for you, and that's what happened in this situation, and with between comparing the First Academy and Miami Central, but as I looked at it, there's 5 teams here, Reno, that I calculated this out with earlier, and it's between First Academy, Miami Central, that's 16 games between teams that have had the forfeit, and then we go looking at this one. Western forfeited 2 games last week. Miami Norland forfeited a game last week. earlier this season. Gaither and Tampa forfeited 2 games. Between those 5 teams alone, that's 21 games been forfeited this year.
That's a lot of games that have been forfeited. Now, I can understand about certain social circumstances and everything, but that just seems like a very high number for the year.
Yeah, it is a very high number, and we'll talk about this here. And here we go. I want to go back to Jay Golfin's question here, and he's a Go Central fan. But how's this forfeit shape up the playoff bracket? Actually, it flips the playoff brackets on their head, Jay, because honestly, at this particular point, we got an interesting scenario here that potentially could put in this region, Class 3 or Region 4, which is where the impact is. We're going to see Miami Northwestern jump to the 1 seed. That we're going to see happen. Key West potentially what we see them to the 2 seed. Now we got Stranahan and Somerset Academy, Pembroke Pines. Now at this particular point, now will play for the district championship this week. So somebody will be recrowned district champs in that region. In that district 3A15. So it really, there's a lot of impact here, not just that region in Class 3A Region 3J, but it is going to be across the entire South Florida ecosystem of football, because there's just a ripple effect when we start calculating the rankings and how far Max Preps takes those rankings, and it really goes infinity deep, and it circles back several times from my understanding on this. So there is going to be a lot here, and what will happen here. What I've kind of alluded to, that there may be some more teams that may see some penalties from the FHA. John Santuccian is reporting for the USA Today Network, kind of said that they kind of alluded to that they may not be done yet with potential penalties and for some schools here. So keep an eye on this. See what's going to happen here in the rankings here as we roll along here. Purdy Purd reigns number one in 3A Region 1. This does not impact Region 1. But we'll see how it impacts the rankings for Reigns, but probably puts y'all as the number 1 overall team based on the 3A rankings. So, and Christopher Like is saying FHA isn't playing around. Yes, you are right, Chris. They are not playing around. They're coming with the hammer, and I have a feeling that they may not necessarily come with the hammer full on with a couple other teams, but they're going to tell some teams, hey, it's either you do this or we will come with the hammer. And as they say, yeah, go ahead, Reno.
With all that new stuff with Neil and everything, Josh, they've got to bring a hammer down. They've got to put some regulatory mandates around it. They have to.
And it makes me think about, hey, kind of makes me think of was the one song I think of, Sledgehammer. they ain't coming with the hammer. They coming with the sledgehammer.
Sludge, that's right.
Yes, I think it was Peter Gabriel. I want to say that song. But yes, so there is that. And I think Jay Golfin, yes, thank you so much. I was looking forward to Central. I know a lot of people were looking for a potential rematch in the playoffs. Man, now we're not going to have it. Oh, man. But anyways, back to our blitz lines here. How about this? We had Mickey Gritty on last week, and 10-0. John Carroll wraps up a perfect regular season, and how about this? 59-8 over St. John Paul II out of Boca Raton, Reno, and gotta say, John Carroll, the Golden Rams, looking pretty good here, as they are going to be a top four team in Class 4A Region 4, which also includes American Heritage Plantation and Miami Norland. Can they potentially give those teams a chance? We'll have to see here when the brackets come out, if they can contend with those teams potentially deep into the playoffs.
Impressive win though, 59 points. So we'll see how that carries over.
No, absolutely. And as we roll along here with our blitz lines, Martin County bounces back. How about this? Martin County now 6-4 on the season. They needed a win to potentially get back into the playoff hunt. Last week, the week before that, in week number 10, they lost to Palm Bay Heritage, which cost them the district title, put them in the first team looking out. But they weren't too far off of Mater Academy, who was a 1.875, and Martin County was 1.060. But the win potentially with a big win over Jensen Beach, which Deuce Allen brought that up. Do you think they'll drop the number 7, which I think that's a potential chance, but Martin County getting that win, that could put Martin County in and put Mater Academy out, but we will again see what happens either Friday or Saturday once the FHA releases the playoff brackets. But Martin County getting that big win over Jensen Beach, another big rivalry game there inside Martin County, and Jensen Beach now 7-3 on the year, and Martin County 6-4.
And Jensen was on a 4-game streak. That this loss breaks that, so it breaks the momentum.
Yeah, it does break momentum, and we'll see how that carries over into the postseason here. But West Boca Raton, I mean, for the second straight year, they beat Delray Beach Atlantic 28-14. Yes, and West Boca Raton now is a perfect 9-0. Yes, remember that loss to Western? That went back on that went to the win column for them when that forfeit came last week. But
that's right.
How about this? Looking at this right here for West Boca Raton, Javen and Mallory. How about this? 179 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. One of the biggest reasons why the Bulls beat the Eagles in that game. And West Boca Raton overall 279 yards rushing on the ground. And according to the stats, that's the most rushing yards they have put up this season on any team they have played. And so West Boca Raton now sitting there at 9-0. Atlantic is 7-2 on the season. And actually, by the way, it says Atlantic 7-2 on the season, but actually Atlantic is about to be 8-1 thanks to a forfeit. Forfeiture coming from First Academy. So keep an eye on that, because these games will definitely have some impacts on the rankings as, again, once we see what happens with the appeal process with First Academy coming up later this week.
Right.
And then on to down to Miami-Dade County, where we're taking a look at a couple of things here. Southridge runs over South Dade 33-7. The Spartans 8-2 on the season. They lost to South Dade last year, but they get the revenge back, and quarterback James Peroni threw 2 touchdown tosses and had ran for 2 more scores, and Cameron Wilson 3 sacks on the night, and they also had defensively 3 interceptions as well, and also a blocked field goal. So for Peroni, 125 yards passing on 10 of 21, and scored along with his 4 scores, and then for South Dade, I mean, it just at the end of the day, it really just it cost them there with those 3 interceptions, and Southridge 33-7 to wrap up the regular season at 8-2, while South Dade falls to 5-5. But I think both teams, Southridge is district champs in their district, Class 6A, District 16. South Dade sitting there, they were in number 5 last week in the playoff race in 7A Region 4. I don't think that loss is going to impact them too much there, but we will see how things happen here as we look towards the playoffs. All right, Reno. Monsignor Pace gets a win, or a thrilling win over Goldman, 28-27, and both teams evenly matched in this one, but it really came down to defense. And how about this third and 3 with the Monsignor Pace 21 with less than 2 minutes. Goldman's John Taylor took the snap in the wild card. He threw up a jump pass, tried to pop it over the middle, and Monsignor Pace says, no, thank you. We're going to win this ball game here and say goodnight. And that's what they did, 28-27. And the Monsignor Pace Spartans beat the Goldman Gators. But Goldman, they're in the playoffs because thanks to Western's forfeiture, that they were district champs, so they're guaranteed playoff spot. And Monsignor Pace, they were looking pretty good for a playoff spot themselves, as they are actually district champs as well in Class 2A District 14. They are 7-2 on the year, and Goldman, they are now
6-4,
6-4, yeah. And they will get ready for postseason with this week off. And speaking of Western, this is a game that I think you took West Broward on here, Reno, and I took Western, and Western pounds West Broward 35-10, and you could throw out the records basically for Western because the seeding don't matter. And honestly, at the end of the day, it was the defense that really has just been solid for them. But the offense kind of found its stride a little bit with Jonathan Buno, 128 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on Friday's game, and that basically has helped Western win that ball game against West Broward. And Western finishes the regular season at 4-6. They were sitting there at the number 8 seed, Reno, last week, but we'll see if that kind of moves them up to maybe potentially up to number 7. But I don't see anything else changing for Western in this situation right now. So
I agree. I don't see much.
No, absolutely. And I saw this comment pop up. Tay Kirby is like, FSA doing Fed sweeps on the teams. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like they're doing sweeps on these teams. It's sure enough. I mean, it's really, really interesting. So, but Reno, I mean, how do you feel about this with the FSA doing what they're doing right now? Because this is,
I mean, it's a new world of recruiting in football, even in high school. It's a new world. We all have to figure it out. So, is what they're doing wrong? It's really hard to say, but are they enforcing rules? That's what they're there for. So I see how this plays out a little bit more. I think an offseason is really going to dictate what they did now is really going to dictate what their choices and the decisions they make for the future as well. And that's what's going to matter out of all this.
And let me throw this question out before we get to our last topic here on the Blitz lines. Do you think that the state legislature may need to revisit some of their the state statutes of what they have done that has allowed this?
Possibly. I mean, there could be much bigger picture and much bigger implications that come out of this conversation for starting what started this week.
No, absolutely. And of course, again, a lot here, and I don't think we're going to be done. I think we're going to be talking about some potentially more scenarios coming up next week on the shows here, on the Blitz shows here. But we'll take a look at the SSA playoff results because, Mark Cannon, before I get into that, Mark Cannon's disappointed. Just at my.
Tell me
man, Mark.
Get your $16 back, Mark.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry. Sorry, Mark. All right. As we look at the Sunshine State Athletic Association brackets here, with the main brackets in the 8-man, there's really nothing there in South Florida because no South Florida 8-man teams, but that's a look real quick there in case you missed it earlier. In the Atlantic bracket side, we have American Heritage, Delray Beach moving on. They're going to be hosting Frostproof this week. Of course, American Heritage 35-0 victors over LaBelle, Reno. And that Delray Beach American Heritage team looking pretty strong here as we roll along. But looking at the SSA, wait a second. So that's supposed to be the SSA 5-man state championship bracket. I don't know why it says 8-man. But it's a 5A state championship bracket. But in that bracket, we've got Oxbridge Academy who lost in that game. But Jupiter Christian, how about this? 34-20 over Sefton Christian. They're going to be on the road to Out-of-Door in a 1-3 matchup. And then, of course, in the 11-man state championship bracket, Westminster Academy, they fell 19-7, and St. Edwards fell 42-6 to NSU University School. NSU University School in Fort Lauderdale will host Oasis this week in the 1-2 matchup. And yes, indeed. And there's some more comments popping up here, Reno, and Mark Cannon's like, LOL.
It happens.
And here's a good factoid. Yes, and thank you, Christopher for bringing this up. 2016 is the last time Miami Central was not in the playoffs. It has only happened twice in the last 20 years. And 2016. I do remember that, and I believe it was Miami Northwestern, and Miami Norland is the one that took the spots in that district because they were all Miami Norland, Miami Northwestern, and Miami Central were all in the same district that year. And that was still when it was district champ and district runner-up went to the playoffs. There was no power rating. The power rating, the playoff points rankings that came the very next season. So. Yes, Miami Central not in the playoffs. That's going to be an interesting storyline to write about. How do we write about the Rockets not being in postseason when we predicted them to win their district very easily this year? But with that said, it's time to get some water here. We're going to take we're going to take our water break here real quick, and then we will be right back here on the South Florida Blitz. Appreciate everybody watching us here. We'll be right back. Hey, Reno's got his Powerade out. I got my water. We'll be right back right after this 2-minute water break right here on the South Florida Blitz. All right, welcome back here on the South Florida Blitz here, and I know Reno's putting up on the chat there, and I love it right there because it's what makes this show fun on each and every show we do each and every week here. And actually, yes, you know what, Mark Cannon, we actually have an answer. We have it for the next 3 years. We're going to be at FIU. We're going to be at Pitbull State at South Day Kia Field at Pitbull Stadium on the campus of FIU. That is where the 1A through 7A games will be at for the next 3 years. That deal actually got locked in down on Friday as well. So, but I was planning to talk more about that on the Drive the State show, but we're not having playoff rankings, but we will talk more about that with the state championship locations on the Drive the State show special whenever we actually do that, either be Friday evening, Friday afternoon, or Saturday morning, depending on, again, when the FHA brackets do come out for the playoffs. But we will talk about the state championship location and what it means for these teams between the world classifications. But by the way, we did get an answer today. They're going to call the B bracket and the rural invitational bracket. So the B bracket will be, and then the A bracket will be the World State Championship bracket. So yes, it is great news for the FHA. The FHA will be at Pitbull Stadium for the next 3 years. So 2024, 2025, and 2026, a 3-year deal for the 1A through 7A games, which I think if the thing works out in the Villages, it'll be the next 3 years, the Villages for the Villages too. So for the World Championship games, but I'll say this is just kind of my tidbit after these 3 years at Pitbull. I think honestly, in 2027, we will stay to see all 8 state championship games go to the Villages and probably park themselves there permanently for a while, because that is the plan. From my understanding, is that the Villages eventually is going to go after all the state championship games once they expand out a little bit more, and the hotels are developed right near the campus, which they're actually planning to put a hotel not within less than 1,000 feet from the high school there. So that is the plan there with the Villages. So actually,
big changes.
Yes, big changes on the way here. But for the next 3 years, at least we know Where is that as? And my friend Christopher Like, who is going to be helping me with the Drive the State bracket breakdown show on between Friday and Saturday. We'll have some good stuff coming for that. Yes, indeed, we will. And we will definitely have breakdowns and looking at the brackets and looking at the most interesting matchups for the first round of the playoffs. I can't wait. It's kind of exciting, but it's kind of like, how long do we have to wait? Well, we got to wait a few more days. So there is that. More afraid to go to the Villages than Miami, Mark Cannon says. Ooh.
Yeah, it's a whole nother conversation, whole nother show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what time it is? It's time for the Pick Six for week number 12. It is the fourth quarter of the show, as we would call it. Yes, indeed. And Mike Tactic, I see your question. I will get to it after we do the Pick Six. We will talk. We can answer that real quick as we run through this here. All right, let's roll into our Pick Six. Last week, 5-1 in South Florida. Actually, I've been starting to improve in South Florida, where I started off the season horribly. I had 1 week where I went a goose egg in 6. So, early this season, South Florida was just not treating me nice, Reno.
Well, we're going to have that conversation next show.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have to talk about that next show for sure. We're going to have to talk about that for sure, but you're right. But as we roll along, my Pick Six for the season, 40 and my results this week, 40 and 23. I've now finally gotten over 60% here. It was kind of like, at one point I was sitting below 50%. So I've been improving each week, but
getting better.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's talk about this. Wellington 4-5 at Jupiter 8-1. Wellington. They're playing for pride in this situation. For Jupiter, it's more of, hey, we just got to win this one game so we're officially district champs and call it a day. And honestly, the Jupiter Warriors have just been really, really good. And Jason Crabman's been really had this team really on a roll here the last 2 years in Jupiter. I don't expect anything less out of the Warriors. And I'm going with the Jupiter Warriors here. Or actually, it should say Jupiter. I'm sorry.
You're going Royal Palm Beach. Look at you.
No, I meant to change it. It somehow did not change in my thing. So, my thing is the game. It's for Jupiter. I will tell you that. So it's Jupiter.
I agree. This is the week they get to clean up on stuff before they move on to the first round. So this is a great week for Jupiter and they can win.
All right. So Reno's going Jupiter. Christopher Like is going Jupiter by 10. Mark Cannon rolling with Jupiter. Chinny is rolling with Jupiter. So I think we're pretty consistent with the Jupiter Warriors rolling here this week.
I think we're going to have a little statistic about these picks as we go along as well. You'll see.
Yeah. Park Vista Santa Lucia's. This is for another district championship here. District 7A 13. Santa Lucia's just needs this win here basically to call themselves district champs. And that's what it's looking like. Park Vista, they honestly, Park Vista could make if they somehow pull off an upset, could make things really interesting. But Park Vista wasn't even in the next two out in their region, even despite the fact they are 6-3. I just honestly think it's going to be Santa Lucia's in this situation here. But Jay Golfin is saying Jupiter for sure. Wellington has nothing to play for other than pride. So that's the only thing. Pride at the end of the season for some of these teams. But give me a pick, Josh. Oh, Mark Cannon's asking me for a pick. Well, Santa Lucia's for the win. How about that?
Yeah, there we go. Yep. I'm taking that as well. I think, again,
I guess Mark Cannon's gonna go Santa Lucia's, I think. Well, Christopher Light going Santa Lucia's by 9. Mark Cannon says, no clue, give me a pick. Well, I'm giving you Santa Lucia's, Mark. How about that? And Jay Golfin is going Santa Lucia's as well for the win for the big W this week.
That's two home teams.
Yes, indeed. All right, so one of the pairings and the matchups in the SSA. Yep, there you go. Mark Cannon giving us Santa Lucia's here. I'm going to pop it up here. There you go. All right, let's talk about this game that we got here in the SSA. Jupiter Christian 8-3 at Altadore 8-0. Oxbridge Academy almost had Altadore. Jupiter Christian looking really good. And honestly, I'll tell you this right now, Reno, I think Jupiter Christian, their strength of schedule has been much better than Altadore's. And I'm thinking Jupiter Christian is going to say, we're moving on to the 5A SSA 5A state championship game next week by beating Out-of-Door this week. And Out-of-Door actually is one of the more interesting names of her school in this state. But Reno, what are you thinking on this one?
Well, Out-of-Door will come in and slam the door shut on Jupiter Christian and take the win on this one. I'm going Out-of-Door.
Gosh, wow.
Former pride of Siesta Key.
Yes, for Mark Cannon, he says Out-of-Door, former pride of Siesta Key. So he's rolling Out-of-Door, but Christopher Like thinks Jupiter Christian will shut by 3. Will shut the door instead. I love it. I love the comment. I love the comedy show we're having here too. It makes it for a fun show. I will say that. All right, as we roll into our 4th pick, Ransom Everglades 6-2 at Immaculate LaSalle 8-1. I believe this is for the wrap up a district situation for Immaculate LaSalle. Actually, it's just a district game that has to be played between the two teams, District 2A-15. So these teams have got to play. They got to make up this game. They got to complete the district slate. But Immaculate LaSalle has just been looking really, really good. The only team they've lost to this year, Booker T. Washington, who was the number 1 team in the Class 2A Region 4 last week. Expecting Booker T. to probably be the number 1 seed. Immaculate LaSalle probably be number 2. I do question a little bit of their strength of schedule. But besides the fact of this, I think they're going to take care of some business here. And they're going to take down, and Immaculate LaSalle is going to take care of business against Ransom Everglades, who, by the way, is back in the state series for the first time this year and will be playoff bound as well after being years of independent. So, but I'm rolling LaSalle here. Reno, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling LaSalle is going to just keep moving along. It's a home team weekend right now.
Boy, home teams. We're just rolling with the home teams here in this situation. But Mark Cannon is going LaSalle. Christopher Like is going LaSalle. And yes, indeed. And then go Chiefs. Wait a second. Winston, who are you referring to go Chiefs? Are you talking about I got to figure out. Are you talking about Santa Lucia's? Maybe that's what he's talking about. Santa Lucia's Chiefs. He's talking about go Chiefs probably. Santa Lucia's. So that's who I'm feeling like he's talking about. So yes, indeed. LaSalle for the pick. All right. Miami Palmetto 6-2, Booker T. Washington 5-3. It's a non-district game. I think they're just trying to make it up so they can get some playoff points here in this situation. Oh, Winston confirmed it. Thank you, Winston. But yes, I believe Miami Palmetto and Booker T. They're just making this up to basically strengthen their playoff position. But after Miami Palmetto letting me down last week, Reno, I'm going with the Booker T. Washington Tornadoes to take the W.
Home team, Booker T.
And I believe that game will be most likely at Curtis Park. If not, it'll be at Trask Powell. But yes, I gotta roll with go roll with Ice Harrison, the Booker T. Washington Tornadoes, and we're gonna have a little bit of a split here as Mark Cannon is going opposite. You're going Palmetto. Christopher Like is going Booker T. Washington by 10, and Jay Golphin is going Booker T. Washington as well. So our final game for the South Florida Pick 6 is Royal Palm Beach at West Boca Raton. 7-2, Royal Palm Beach, West Boca Raton 9-0. The Bulls needing just one more win to complete a perfect regular season. The Royal Palm Beach Wildcats would love nothing more than hand West Boca Raton a loss back and solidify a playoff spot even further. But this is going to be a tough challenge considering that West Boca Raton is looking as the best team right now in Palm Beach County. And I can't go against West Boca in this situation, and I'm going with the Bulls over the Wildcats.
For my 6th and final pick, I choose the home team, West Boca Raton.
Wow, Reno with all the home teams here. And by the way, for that last pick, Winston James was going by Palmetto by 7. Jay Golphin going West Boca big. Christopher Like is going West Boca by 17. Winston James says West Boca 35-24. Mark Cannon says West Boca Raton, just how good are they? Well, they beat a pretty doggone good Delray Beach Atlantic team. I think they are pretty doggone good. So yes, they may have. By the way, West Boca may have handed St. Thomas Aquinas the number 1 seed back from Atlantic in 5A Region 4. By the way, so keep that in mind. So that is the pick 6 for week number 12 here in Reno. Boy, what an interesting way to go and finish this show out. But any final thoughts from you on this one as we get ready to do our final show, the North Florida Blitz?
No, in this region of South Florida, it's real impressive football. It's big boy football, as we all know, and it's get yourself cleaned up week this week. You know, wrap up your season and move on to the playoffs and make a deep run. And I think South Florida is going to have some really fun games for us to watch when we get the brackets released.
No, absolutely. And yes, these teams get things cleaned up and get ready to go. And Reno's already jamming out here as we close it out. Appreciate everybody watching the South Florida Blitz. We'll be back next Tuesday evening in the normal time slot from 7 to 7:45 right here on FloorHSFootball.com. Appreciate everybody watching here. We'll see you for the North Florida Blitz coming up in a few minutes right here on the FloorHSFootball.com social media networks. Good night, everybody.
Good night.